The new double album from British rockers Feeder, Black Red, features some awesome melodies and some really cool riffs that their fans should love, but overall lacks a little bit of the bite and the bark that I like in my rock music. Let's break it all down on this edition of Rock Album Review. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel. Black Red is Feeder's 12th studio album. It's a double album. It's the follow-up to 2022's Torpedo. And I first got into Feeder when their debut album Polythene came out in the late 90s at the height of Brit rock and Brit pop. And it was featured on the soundtrack to the 90s teen comedy Can't Hardly Wait. And ever since then, I've continued to follow Feeder throughout most of their career. But at some point, I gotta say, I lost track of Feeder as a band. Don't get me wrong, they've been beyond prolific in the last 2 decades, releasing a plethora of music, some of which I've listened to, but most I haven't. And double albums seem to be all the rage right now because I just reviewed the new double album from Sum 41 last week on the channel, and now we got Feeder with their double album, Black Red. Don't get me wrong, I love listening to a good double album, but it definitely increases the listening time that it takes me to properly review these records. So guys, please, let's just stick to the single albums from now on. But you know what? Feeder released a lot of songs as singles before the record came out, so that gave me a little bit of a head start when listening to this 18-song opus. And the new album from Feeder, Black Red, is a solid effort, but it's fairly par for the course for Feeder and their sound. They're a rock band, but they never really rock too hard, which is okay. In terms of songwriting and production, they're catchy and they're well done. These rock songs are really, really cool, but they don't really stray too far from that standard Feeder formula. And it's a great formula, but it came away from this record hoping that there was a little bit more bite and a little bit more attack. I really just wanted Feeder to just rock the fuck out a little bit more. The thing I would say about this new album, this new double album from Feeder, is that the songs are like Feeder. There's like a lot of propulsive rhythm. There's a lot of really cool riffs happening on here. But the singing and the melodies from Grant Nicholas, even though he's a great frontman and a great singer, they always just tend to be on the tame side. And he always does a great job. He's a great singer. He's a great songwriter. But sometimes I wish that his vocals would match the intensity of the instrumental side of things. There are some really cool riffs on this album. The song Vultures actually has a really cool riff on it. It reminded me of Black Sabbath. I don't really recall Feeder being that heavy, but it's a really cool track. Reminds me of early Feeder. But kind of like a complaint a little bit with some of the melodies on this song is that the album maybe isn't as catchy as it should be in spots. The songs have a lot of energy, but sometimes the melodies and the lyrics don't really match that energy. Sahara had a really propulsive beat with an epic kind of feel, but some of the songs, just production, they just don't seem to have the teeth that they need, even though with this song Sahara, the riff on the song reminded me of a much heavier song, Judith, by A Perfect Circle. One of my favorite tracks on the record was Playing with Fire, which kicked off with a really fun bass line courtesy of Taka Hirose and some really propulsive drums. And the thing is that Feeder is well known for being more of a, I guess, a ballad kind of band, with High being that big single that they had back in the day. But this actually reminded me of another great British rock band who came from the 1990s, which was Placebo, with the really driving bass line. And this actually really got me back into listening to Feeder. For somebody who's been off the Feeder train for a while, this got me back into the Feeder mood. 2 of the other songs on this record that really rocked, The Knock was really cool. It was generic, but it was really cool, and I could see myself listening to it in the car, pushing the pedal to the metal. Sleeping Dogs Lie had a really cool intro with some really cool heavy guitars on it. Definitely one of my faves on the record. In addition to all the riffs, though, there are some really cool production flourishes. Hey You was one of my favorites on the record, had some really cool 80s synth vibes. So even though I love riffs, I love a good 80s synth as well, and Hey You was definitely one of my favorite tracks on the record. One of my favorite tracks on the record was Lost in the Wilderness. I really dig the falsetto vocals on the chorus on that. Really, really pleasant listen on that. Had some really nice guitar riffs in there as well. I really enjoyed Soldiers of Love. It starts with bagpipes on there. Very Wings, Mull of Kintyre. That was the first reference that I thought of when I heard this song, but it had some really cool harmony vocals on it and some positive lyrics on there as well. Lyrically, that is something that continues throughout this record. Some positive lyrics. Live to Fight Another Day, Soldier of Love, kind of cheesy here and there, just like Mull of Kintyre, but you can't really argue with the positivity. The thing though with this double album is the black side is much stronger for me than the red side, with the second side's tracks not really making as much of an impression on me. You had songs like Memory Loss, Unconditional, Scream, Submarine. I can't say I came away remembering much about these tracks, and for me they just felt like the kind of songs that Feeder just writes in their sleep. And that could be a criticism of Feeder, is that 12 albums in, double album here right in front of them, and they've never really strayed away from the tried and true and tested formula of Feeder when they've really had like ample opportunity to do so. This is a double album. I'm not saying it's got to be the White Album and they got to do all sorts of different styles like the Beatles, but they could have varied things up a little bit more. And like I said, lyrically, a lot of the songs are positive. They're looking ahead to the future. They're optimistic. But then you have a song like AI Man, which is very topical, very current, which is obviously grapples with the nature of technology in our lives. So the lyrics go a little bit deeper than the surface level on some of the songs. Overall, with Black and Red, I came away from listening to this album the same way that I felt about the new album from Sum 41. A great band, cool album, cool songs, but I don't necessarily think that Feeder are a double album kind of band. Don't get me wrong, there are some great songs on here, some great performances, but really not enough to warrant 18 tracks on this record. But that's for me. If you're a big Feeder fan, you're probably going to be in your glory this weekend listening to this album and enjoying these 18 new shiny tracks from Feeder. I like the record, I like the band, but I really wish that Feeder would just branch out a little bit and try to do something new. Maybe not do something that's so generic, maybe add a little bit more edge to their music, but that's just me. Black Red is a solid effort, but not enough to warrant 2 discs. I'm going to give the new album from Feeder, Black Red, a 2 out of 5. And that is it, guys. That is my review of the new double album from Feeder, Black Red. Let me know what you thought of the record in the comments below. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel here so you don't miss out on future videos. And make sure to follow me on social media across platforms, on Instagram, TikTok, X, wherever you can find me, at Nick Chino Music. And I'll see you guys again for another video here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.